Hello, hi. So, how's everyone? All good? Perfect. So, I will talk about the start with the game jam. My name is Danar Kayfi. I put my picture there in case I'm very far, so you can see me. These are some of the games that I made. I started with game development in 2012. I developed several small games, most of them game jams games for mobile or web. Our latest game called this one, which is a very colorful thing, it's called Untitled Chapter or Find the Shape. It's a game for kids, 5 years and below. So I've been hosting, organizing game jams, teaching about Unity engine, online and offline, with courses, with Udemy. So this is the experience part on me. So start with the game jam. Why should we start with a game jam? Now, before that, what is a game jam? Now, a game jam, there are many definitions to describe a game jam, but basically it's the full game development experience compressed in a very short time. So we have, for example, in a basic thing, we have the concept, the art, development, testing, and publishing the game, right? These are the basics ones in the life cycle of game development. Same thing in the game jam, but maybe in a 1 day, or 2 days, or 3 days, or a week, or maybe even a few hours. So it's the same thing that you go through them to make thing in a game jam. Now, when we talk about game jam, usually we think about Global Game Jam and Ludum Dare, which happens every couple of months, the Ludum Dare every year once, the Global Game Jam. And we have here in the region, Zanga al-Alab, or the Game Zanga, which is a regional game jam, somewhere between the Global Game Jam and the Ludum Dare, have some benefits from that and this. It's happening every year. This year was the 9th year. Now, the Game Zanga, it's an Arabic game jam. It's 72 hours game jam that happened in the weekend. Usually it's in the summer. Jammers control the theme, and this is one of the good things which comes from the Ludum Dare. So people announce suggest themes, and people vote for it, and winner theme it will be. So the people choose the theme, and they will vote on it. Then after the 72 hours, the same people who participated in the jam, they vote on the games that they participated and pick the best one. Now, just before that, the awesome thing about the Game Zanga is it's driven completely by the community leaders in the region. So when we're talking about that, this year it was the people who joined the Game Zanga, more than 350. We have more than 80 games. We have 16 gathering sites. These 16 gathering sites spread on 10 countries. We have Jordan here, Algeria, UAE, KSA. We have Iraq, Tunisia, Palestine, Lebanon, and Egypt. So this is the 9th year. This was the Game Zanga 9. Now, this will not happen without the people, awesome people who are organizers in this country, which are most of them the leaders of the community in these countries. We have people who started the Game Zanga back in 2011. Samar Abbas, I think he's in the room. We have community leaders, Tariq, and other awesome people like Joseph, you already saw his session. We have Ali Hosseini, Ahmed Nairad, and others, and these are some. We have many females community leaders in KSA also organizing this event. So this year, this was some of the games that get the voting, the top 10, and based on the countries, based on the people who participated and vote for it. So, by the way, sometimes I look here because I need to see this because of the light is not clear. So that's why, or I will look here. So some tips for if it's your first jam or more jams coming. Now, the first thing that I like to talk about is the one game mechanic rule. It's very, very important, very tempting to think about complicated games, especially for game jams. Because when you come to the game jam, there are people who are passionate to make games, and you say, okay, I will make, and it will give you a power, good ideas, and you keep dreaming about bigger games and make it more complicated. But I want to remind you to keep it one game mechanic rule. So for example, Mario, what are the one mechanic rule, or do you think, in Mario? What do you think? Huh? Jumping, movement, jumping. It's the one mechanic. Even when you hit the enemies, it comes from the movement and the jumping. So it's all in the same genre, right? Now you should think something like this in a very simple one mechanic rule without making the complex what Mario becomes later. So when you start in a game jam, usually you start thinking like this, and you keep, the human mind is amazing because we are very creative, and you keep adding layers to that, and so it will suddenly become something like this. Or you say, I will make it superpowers, I will make enemies like this, and all this, etc. Add, and then suddenly, while you are 2 hours in the game jam, you start to think, I will make it 3D, and I will add even more enemies to that, and make it more complicated. Now, this is good, and you should do that. That's why game jam is important. In the thinking, when you think about your game, you start to reach a level like this, and you say, okay, I will make it even multiplayer, etc., and add to that. And we are talking about a game jam, maybe it's a 6 hours game jam, or a 48-hour game jam. So you should do what? Make it simpler, and keep cutting from these layers, and going back to this, and take only the one mechanic, and start from that. So this is the tip 1. Now, the second one is know your limits. The game jam is amazing because it will show you your limits. If you are honest with yourself, you know your limits, you can work around that and making something very good. There are many good games, like a game called Stanley, I think, the Parable of Stanley, or Stanley Parable, something like Stanley Parable. Now, in the first version, when they asked him why you didn't like this, or why it started like this, because in the beginning, the only thing that he knew how to make a corridors, opening doors. So this was the inspiration. This was the starting point for him. So knowing your limits, we're talking about in terms of engines. You have, like, for example, you should know your limits. Are you using engine? Do you know how to use an engine? Are you a programmer or not? If you are a programmer and have some small knowledge of programming, but you don't know how to use Unity or Unreal, Unity and Unreal, both of them have a learning page, okay, when you can go there and learn something very quick. Unity even have some plugins or some examples that you can make a game just with drag and dropping. So you can imagine, even if you don't know about programming, which is called a playground in Unity. If you don't know that and you want just something simple, you can go to Construct 3. If you don't want that, you go to something even simpler, because maybe you are just an artist, you don't want anything related to programming, you go to Scratch. Now, anything, it will work. In the end, the player doesn't care how you build it. Okay, how it comes, okay, by one night, by 2 nights, by 1 hour, by 2 hours. The game is good or not, this is the important thing. Now, in terms of art, same thing, know your limits. If you don't know how to use the art, or you are not an artist, there are many websites who provide things free, royalty free. One of them, for example, Kenny. If you are not a musician, or you don't know how to make a music, there are, again, many websites that can provide AI, auto-generated musics for your game. Like, for example, Icrit Music. It's basically, you just say, I want this scene, and I want this genre, I want it to be this long, and this type of music, and that's it. You click, it generates something for you. You can manipulate these buttons and make a background music from nothing. So, knowing your limits will shape your decision in the first game jam that you start. Now, this is an example that happened in the game Zanga 9th edition, which was this year. The theme was Parallel Universe, العالم الموازي. So when you think about it, there is a game that I made it in this game jam, very simple one, but I thought it will be good for the 2 points that I talk about, know your limitation and the one game mechanics. For me, it was only I had few hours because I was organizing also, so I didn't have a lot of time. So I was like thinking, I would say, okay, this is interesting, just flip it, use the same colors. This is the first decision. I don't have an artist with me at the time. So I said, I will make just a square. And the one game mechanics is simple. I just have two squares, one of them bright square, one of them a little flipped. They collect shapes like him. If you collect it, it will teleport to the other side. This is the one game mechanic. Any object you hit, it will teleport to the other side. Now, I'm starting from this point as an example, okay? So this is the first decision. Okay, do I have an art? No, make it simple. Nice, I made it. When it transferred to there, I should make it in red so I know it's evil. If you hit it, you die. This is adding a very small layer on the game mechanics, so there is a game over, okay? And then I said, okay, I have this, I need a story or something, motivation, why this is happening. So I said, since it's a parallel universe, and I have shapes, which is square, one of the shapes, I will move it a little bit, and I will say there is two parallel universes in this earth. One of them, this is their square. The other one, this is their square, okay? Each one saying my square is the correct shape of the square, and I'm sending it to the other universe to convince them this is the right one, forcing on them. And this is it, okay? This is how few hours without art, just one game mechanics. I'm not saying it's a very good, amazing game. It's just an example of a one game mechanics, how it started in a game jam. Always remember that. I mean, the people knows me. Usually in my talks or sessions, I talk about Thomas Was Alone. So please always remember this example. This is a one, it was a one, now it's more, 1 million game art. So I thought it's my timer, that's why I was checking. So just remember how simple it is, how it started. This is 1 million game that happened, and now it's everywhere. It's on mobile, on all platforms. You can check it. So Thomas Was Alone is a very good example. Always remember that. Now, deadline, of course, when you put deadlines, every game jam have a deadline. Now, advice is, if it was 48 hours, just 50. Say you have 24 hours, because you never know what will happen. Okay, what kind, especially in programming, you never know what will go bad because you missed a semicolon or a one word or just a capital small letter, okay, or just a bad dragging, or you put everything correct and in the last moment, click, it's crashed. Okay, so just put it half. Don't be shy, ask for help, Google it, please. Like everything is there, just write it down, put the name of the engine, and you will find the answer. No need to be afraid, even if you don't know anything. I started in this business with a game jam, with the game Zanga, by the way, in 2013. And always remember to have fun. Now, for your next jams, use the game jam as opportunity, whatever game jam is, but use it as opportunity to challenge yourself into new things. I'm not talking about only the beginners. Even if you are an expert, maybe there is a space or something, technology, you never checked it out. So it will be interesting, challenging yourself maybe into AR or VR. You plan, like usually we are in this region, we plan things and we will wait months to do it tomorrow, and it will never happen. But when you say it's just 2 days, let me try to learn the AR, which is very easy in some engines like Unity. Let me test it out. Put limits on yourself. Like, for example, I will test making with limitation of colors, with one button control, etc. Try new genres and gather feedbacks. And this is a very important thing. In the game jam, which is very good opportunity to make a style of a game, and you test it right away, and you get results right away or within 2, 3, 4 days. This decision will make you decide, should I continue with this game or not? And we have many examples of that. We have This was the timer. Yeah. Which is close, by the way. I have only just 1 minute, 2 minutes. Really? Okay, good. So, for example, Chameleon Run, it's a game that happened in Ludendorff, 2013. They started there, they tested, see people liked it, they continued. We have the cute goat simulator, internal game jam. And this is the thing that I always talk. That's why I'm saying start with a game jam. Even if you are a company, you have a team, it's nice to test games. So maybe you have, like, for example, 5 people or 10 people in your company. You divide them two, make game jams and see what will go right. Super hot, 7 days FPS, Surgeon Simulator, Global Game Jam. And we go back to the first question. Why should I start with a game jam? First step for the beginners, it will motivate you to start this. You will feel it, it's hard, but when you be a room with experts and other people, you will be motivated and learn from them, learning from the experts, sparking new ideas for the expert people or the old people in the industry, testing environment, which is very amazing. You have already people there. You can test your games right away and you put it on the website. The people who will vote for it, they will give you right feedback. Especially, most of the time it will be correct feedback because most of the people will be developers or artists, so they will give you the right thing without any soft talking. So the last thing is the Game Zanga 10. Next year will be the 10th. We're trying to expand even more, make it even bigger. Probably it will be somewhere summer 2020, maybe July. I'm hoping. You can check the website there. Please join me. It's not only for Arabic-speaking people, it's for everyone, but it's in the region, that's why. But you can have it even in, I don't know, France or whatever place. You can gather, put aside, talk to me. It's very easy. And this is why you should start with a game jam. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was great. I'm just going to ask a couple of questions because I think I think what you've laid out is exactly the stuff that I think game jams work for and why they're great. But there is a question, I think, is there a risk that some of the game jam behaviours, like doing the 24-hour, 48-hour kind of intense activity, could actually be kind of training people kind of some of the bad habits, some of the habits that we're trying to work away from, like crunch, which is, or if anyone doesn't know what crunch is, you're lucky. But some companies are doing this for months. So are we reinforcing bad behaviours, or actually is it?
Well, it's based on how you advertise it. Like, if you are advertising it to make, like, you should do it, we have every 2 days or every 2 weeks, we must have a game every month. Like, there are some companies saying, every month I have 5 or 6 games. It will create a bad habit. So they should always be in a reasonable timing, giving breaks. In a small game jam, not in the companies, we always say, like, please sleep. Please have your time. It's not like when you say 48 hours, you shouldn't stay awake 48 hours. No one can do that. You will not make a game when you are angry or sad. Oh, you do it.
I have.
Yeah. So, yeah.
It's even worse. Like, I've been there. There was that once I was the developer, and it was only me, and I had to make the whole game.
Yeah.
I didn't sleep, and it was actually working. I felt that it was an achievement that I actually didn't sleep and I made it. I finished the game.
Well, maybe how you look, like, you looked at it as a positive thing, which is good, but I don't see it in this way. I prefer it, no, you take your time in making the games, even if it was 48 hours. Like, you think about it and leave it for an hour or half an hour, take a break, do something, play a game or whatever, and get back to it, and you have more ideas to add to that.
You know, when you love what you do, breaks are not that, you don't feel that breaks are that important.
I love
when you love what you're doing, when you're enjoying it, this is the
you don't
break.
Feel the timing.
This is the break.
Well,
you don't need a break.
He's talking about more like, keep doing that.
Yeah,
like, imagine what you're doing in 2 days,
of it,
but for a few months.
Yeah. And I think this is the thing. It's like, actually, I think your point exactly right. That actually there's a moment of joy that comes of the intensity of the struggle to complete this thing, this amorphous being that we're creating. But if it becomes institutionalized, I think there's a worry. It's a worry that I don't talk about alone. There's lots of people who have a worry about it.
Yeah.
And I think it's worth mentioning, just because I want to remind us when we're doing game jams, it's supposed to be fun,
Exactly.
It's supposed to be creative, and we're supposed to be creating a space to actually explore our creativity and our prowess as developers, if that makes sense.
Yeah. You discover new things, like new partners, new everything. That's why it should be have fun. That's why in the tip number 5, it's have fun. It's a fun activity.
Exactly, and it's an amazing creative process. So anyone got any quick questions? Go for it.
How to know your limits and actually know something new? To learn something new while.
Cool. Now, what I do, it will be based on at the time when they announce the jam, where there is the theme, I will sit down, okay, what's my resources? What can I do? Can I do a VR game now? Can I do an AR game now? Do I have an artist? Do I have a music? Do I know this knowledge or not? What I need to learn? And how long does it take? This is to discover my limits. Now, in terms of genres, things like this, I just look at my games, what I've done before. Is it all platforms? So I need to check something new. Like, for example, the last game that we've done, it's a kids game, 5 years below. It's a new thing for me. Like, I learned things I never knew about them. I learned that the shape, when you put it, the collider should be much bigger because the finger of the kids, they cannot focus on that. So things like this, it's a new thing. Yeah, we should do a session about kids.
I'd go one stage further on the kind of experimental side. So it's some people I know go into game jams specifically because they're going to try one technique.
Yeah.
So you know the technique you don't know how to do yet, and you use it to try it out. And often it's the case where you'll do the kind of tutorials and so on and so forth before you get to the game jam, and now I'm going to use it.
Yeah.
I just sit there and judge things and pretend to design things and then let other people do actual work.
I have a very small story. In 2012, I learned about Unity, that there is something called Unity, etc., the engine. It's great. So I spend most of the time trying to, I will learn everything in Unity, then I will do the first big game. And the first big game was a very simple game. It's just a spaceship shooting game. It took months without doing it because I'm just trying to learn. Until 2013 when the game Zanga happened. And I said, okay, that's it. I have 3 days. I must do something, even if it was very simple.
And other game engines do exist.
Yeah, of course. That's why I put other game engines.
Really, in Zanga, I was started with my company to make hyper-casual game.
Cool.
So I wanted to try it in Zanga 9, and I made a game in 4 hours called Parallel Universe.
Yes. He's one of the winners in
I'm the
Jordan.
number one of Jordan.
Yeah.
So I was happy to know my limits in hyper-casual if I can do in 4 hours game that everyone can enjoy.
Cool. Congratulations.
And the fact that you did that in 4 hours is incredibly clever. I don't mean that I'm not trying to patronize you. It's really just focusing in and actually, what's the one thing I want to do? I'm going to do this. Do it. You don't have to spend the whole period of time doing it, but often I find that you end up wishing you had like 4 hours more or 2 days more, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to wrap up. And any last chance for a question? There's one over here. Let me just grab the mic over for you.
I just wanted to ask you, did you ever work on a game that took more than 1 month or 2 for a console, not mobile?
Well, the thing is that the games that taking more than a month, it's because I have other things to do, like maybe a full-time job or something like this, because not I'm fully focusing. But when you look at the final project that you do it, definitely not more than a month. So it's all in this criteria. I have a PC game. It's a very old one. It's a horror game. But no, definitely not more than a month. When we're talking about a full-time job, like imagine 8 hours of working on the game, a month is enough to do most of the basic things, definitely. Especially if it was a hyper-casual, it's even less life cycle.
One of the things I thought I'd chuck in as well is, I have to mention a friend of mine's game, Quang, has built this game called Mau Cat. It's a very simple kind of Space Harrier style game with a kind of Chinese style cat you've got to move around. And he built this at Castle Jam and it was amazing, absolutely amazing. He spent the last year and a half, 2 years, basically trying to get it ready for release. You can take some of those games and try to make something of them, but the level of work that you still need to go through to make it a commercial game can be significant. And as long as you're aware, then it's okay. But knowing that you can go into a game jam, do something and throw it away is powerful. And every once in a while, you'll do something that's so good, you realize it's got to be made into a game, and you're going to spend the time to actually invest in it. And of course, please go see Mau Castle, which is Mau Castle. I'll send a link if anyone wants it. Just DM me. It's going to be a great little game when it comes out.
Small games, when you're testing it, it's very, very important. I think Crossroads, even one time I heard an interview with them, they had a big project. The people who developed Crossroads, they stopped. They said, okay, just 1 week, I think 2 weeks, something like that, to develop a game with this concept and just see what will happen. So it was a break from a bigger game, and look where they got. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to interview Matt at Casual Connect in Amsterdam, and we had lots of fun conversations about how they got round to all of that. They're really, really cool guys. Okay, on that note, thank you very much for that.
No, thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for